Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, you can leave a message to me on the chatting group on our meeting page. There is a chatting group. You can leave some message to me. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's start our. Okay, thank you very much. And now we will start to our 15 days of the introduction about the HCIE Data Center Network Virtual 1 certification. And before we start our class, please let me to introduce the certification overview to you first. Wait a moment. Okay. And this is the Datacom certification panorama. And the HCIE DCN, I will use the DCN in short to introduce the data center network. The HCIE DCN is one of the Datacom certification series. For the Datacom, I think most of you have known we have one HCIE Datacom and 6 sub-directions of the HCIP. And for each HCIP, you need to pass the core technology first. And we also have one HCIE Datacom certification. And nowadays, we will release a new HCIE certification, that is the HCIE Data Center Network. And the HCIE DCN certification is targeted to those who want to be the expert in the DCN scenario or who wants to achieve the HCIE Data Center Network certification. And before you learn the HCIE Data Center Network training, I hope you have acquired the technologies of the HCIP Datacom core technology, because we just talk about some advanced technologies on the DCN scenarios. So for some basic information, please to go back to the core technology to learn the detail about it. And this certification is aims to train and certificate the experts, because it's the level for HCIE. So it's to train the expert with the professional knowledge and the skills of the DCN scenario solutions. So after you have learned after you pass this certification, or after you have learned this certification, I hope you have a solid theoretical knowledge of the DCN scenario, and you are able to use the Huawei data center network products and solutions to plan and to deploy, to maintain and optimize the data center networks, okay? And the knowledge is about 5 parts. There is 5 part of our certification. One is for some basic informations, such as some basic knowledge about the DC and about the DCN, and the overview about the Huawei Cloud Fiber solution. And this solution is used in the DCN scenarios, and the introduction for the VXLAN and FSC and microsegmentation. And then we will talk about some advanced technologies in the DCN scenario, such as the virtualization and the OpenStatic-based the cloud platform for the HPC, the AI computing, storage, and others. And then we will talk a lot of course to talk about. We will use a lot of slide to introduce the Huawei Cloud Fiber solution in different scenarios, such as the computing and hosting network scenario, the cloud network integration and container network scenario. Also for multi-cloud, multi-DC, the storage, the supercomputing, also for the security scenario. And then we will talk about how to plan and design DCN, and the final is for the OM part for the DCN. And we suggest that this class will be spent use 15 days. So let me show the timetable for you. this is the training timetable, and in the next 15 days, we will follow this timetable to have our HCIE DCN course. And in your part, I also hope you can follow this training table to have your class to the student. So today we will introduce the technologies in DC and DCN. Also, we'll talk about the overview about our Huawei Cloud Fabric solution. This tool is today's course, okay? And okay, someone asked me how we will perform lab work for the lab course. In these 15 days, our teacher only will show the lab exam to you for based on our lab environment, but we have no environment for you to practice. So you can only to take the course to see the teacher to show the step to you. Okay. And this is the exam outline for our HCIE data center certification. First is the exam. The HCIE have two-part exam. It's just the same as other IEs. One is the written exam. The written exam have five kind of format for true or false, single answer question, multiple answer question, fill in the blank, and drag and drop. And this exam will take 90 minutes. And when you got the score over 600, that means you have passed the written exam. And after you passing the written exam, you can apply for the lab exam about the HCIE DCN. And in the lab exam, you have the operation part and also for the essay question. And this exam will take you 8 hours. And when you got score over the 80 scores, that means you have passed the lab exam. And after you have passed these two exams, that means you have passed this certification. So you can get the certificate of the HCIE DCN. And somebody asked me, then how we will pass the exam? What the exam do you mean? Do you mean the certification exam? For the hub, if you are someone of the hub, for the hub, as usual, they will buy some equipment to establish the lab environment in their hub itself. And also you can use the demo cloud. You can ask your regional manager to apply for the demo cloud to use our online environment to do the practice. And in our written exam and lab exam, both of them, I have 5-part knowledges just based on our courses, but they have different percentage. And then let me talk about the detail about our exam outlines. Wait a moment. This can you see this clearly? This is our HCIE DCN network version 1 certification exam outline, and this is the overview. I have already introduced it to you, and this is the key module for our examination. And the first module is for the data center network basic knowledges. The first slide is the data center and data center network technologies. It just talk about what is DC, what is DCN, and the difference between them, and some basic knowledges of these two scenarios. And then we will talk about the overview about the Huawei Cloud Fabric solution and just talk about the key components, the key features of the solution. And then is the detail about the VXLAN, because VXLAN is the most useful virtual technology used in the DCN scenario, right? And then we will talk about the microsegmentation and the SFC to these two technologies are used in the DCN to make the traffic control. And then is the second part. The second part is about the advanced technologies and applications of the DCN. And this part, we will talk about some IT technologies, such as the virtualization, and talk about the open source, the OpenStack cloud platform, and the container, the Kubernetes, and the HPC AI computing, also for the storage. And finally, we will talk about a new solution used in the cloud fabric, that is the technology, the intelligent and lossless technologies, such as the PFC and others. And because we need to deploy a lossless network in some scenario based on the cloud fabric solution. And the third part is about our Huawei Cloud Fabric solution in different scenarios. The first scenario is the computing and hosting network scenario. That means we will not use the cloud platform. We only use our MSNC fabric controller to deliver the network services to our DCN. And the second scenario is the cloud network integration and container network solution. And these two solutions, we will use the cloud platform and also the container platform to manage the computing, the storage, and also the network resources. And then is a guide to tell you how to deploy DCN based on our MSNC controller. And then is the scenario for the multi-cloud and multi-DC. And there are two scenarios. One is for the multi-port, another is for multi-site. And the difference between these is about the distance. And then is for the use in our DC, we have some computing nodes. And if you want to use some supercomputing, you can use the HPC or the AI computing, right? And in these two scenarios, they have some specific requirement for the computing network, such as the low latency, the high throughput. And in this scenario, we can use the intelligent and lossless technology to meet this requirement. So this solution will talk about how to meet the specific requirement in the computing network. And this is talk about how to meet the same requirement in the storage network scenario. And the final is talk about the security solution we use in the DCN scenario. And then after we learn all of the technologies and the solutions in different scenarios, we will talk about how to plan and design a typical DCN. Just follow this step. First, you need to choose one solution, and then you need to think about your architecture and to design for the underlay, and then design for the overlay, and then think about the security, and finally you need to think about the operation and the maintenance. And also in the campus, in the DCN, all of them need to evaluate to the IPv6, right? And so we will talk about how does a cloud fabric DCN to the IPv6 evolution. We will talk about some solutions. And the final is about the obtention and the maintainers. We will talk about the some intelligent tools used in the cloud fabric solution to do the operation and the maintainers. And also we will talk about the typical scenarios use the intelligent tools or use some traditional tools to maintain our DCN. And finally, we will talk about how to automatic OEM our DCN. So this is the whole information about our exams. Okay. So, okay, someone. Okay, I will ask our manager if we can show the online experiment for you. But the online experiment is not the same as our lab exam. It's the same as our lab exam because it's only tools for you. But if you want to do the same lab exam as our HCIE DCN, I think you need to establish the lab exam, use the physical devices by yourself. Okay. So this is the whole information about our HCIE DCN. Do you have any questions about the certification? And during our 15 days course, you can ask us any questions if you have the problem. You can just unmute your microphone or just leave some message in our chatting group. Okay. So this is the whole information about the certification. Do you have any question about the overview? If you because our if you want to practice some basic knowledge, some basic technologies such as the VXLAN, you can use how about the DC? How to study the DC and practice the lab in another certification, that is data center. How do you practice for the DC? For that certification? Because the certification is because our this certification is based on the because our certification will use the OpenStack cloud platform and iMaster NCE Fabric controller, and so we cannot we only have one experiment now just for our courses, and this environment is used for our teacher. It will show the lab course for you, and if you want to be familiar with the controller, you can use the online environment, that is Diamond Cloud, but they are the because the physical environment is different, so there you can just do the practice, but they are not the specific same. And the difference between the DC and the DCN. Okay, these two certifications, they are just two different certifications, and we can see the wait a moment. This is our Huawei certification. The DC, the data center certification is here, and for the DCN is here. The DCN belongs to the Datacom sales certification. That means the DCN is just focused on the network. The DCN is focused on the N. That means we only focus on the data center network of the DC. So we will introduce the technology and introduce the solution only used on the network. And the DC is not only based on the network, but also for the computing. Sorry, also for the computing. Right, and also for the storage. It will talk the whole scenario of the DC about the network, the computing, and the storage. But our DCN courses belongs to the datacom, so we only talk about the network of the DC. And maybe in the future, the DC certification will be gradually replaced by the DCN certification, but there is no specific plan yet. So this difference between these two certifications. Yes, we have provided the online for the lab practice, that is demo cloud, but it's only used for the hub. And in the future, we will have the online simulators to all of the scenarios lab exam, but it's also a plan yet. It's not provided now. So in the future, we will have the online environment to the students. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if no questions, we will to have our class. Okay, so let me ask another teacher to have the first class to you. Okay.